Yes.
Welcome to The Know. I'm Meg Turney.
I'm Jenkins.
It's Uncle Sam versus Apple in a battle that has serious implications for the future of privacy and security. You know, two tiny little things. Boy, we love a good Goliath versus Goliath story.
Yeah! Last night, Apple CEO Tim Cook posted an open letter to Apple's website opposing a federal judge's order to assist the FBI in breaking into the iPhone of one of the San Bernardino shooters.
There's ever been an occasion for an oh snap. The time is truly now. Oh snap, we did it again. In an open letter, Cook says, the US government has asked us for something we simply do not have, and something we consider too dangerous to create. They have asked us to build a backdoor to the iPhone.
Because it sounded like he was going to build a superhero.
Yes.
Cook goes on to state that this backdoor tool would, in the wrong hands, give anybody in the world access to anybody's iPhone electronically. That sounds like absolutely everybody's hands.
It's happening.
But beyond that, it would give the government itself tools to do the same thing, and they say that this is a massive overreach by Uncle Sam.
We'll just use it once, we promise, and we'll always feed and walk it. No,
Yeah.
they won't. They'll use it all the time. Who would make a technology and then use it once? It's such bullshit. All right.
Never, never, never. But Cook argues that this would open the door for the government to order Apple to build surveillance software to intercept messages, voice recordings, anything on your phone, really. And we all know there's no way they wouldn't want to use it again.
Absolutely. Cook concludes the letter by saying that Apple doesn't take this decision to oppose the US courts lightly and that the intentions of the FBI are good. However,
They're good-ish.
I would say ish. However, Apple is still going to challenge them with the utmost respect, of course, for democracy. God bless Apple. God bless America. We all know the whole truth.
America. The federal judge's order came yesterday after the FBI's spent weeks trying to break into the phone of one of the San Bernardino shooters who has a 5C. He killed 14 people at a California health clinic back in December with the help of his wife.
We're not saying their names because fuck them. So far, Apple has voluntarily provided the information it does have at its disposal, along with suggestions for how the FBI could proceed technically. But now, the FBI wants them to create software that basically undermines all of Apple's existing security features. The FBI should just get that Chinese hacking group 3DM to break into it for them, right? Bird Sister, Ball Legal. It's a team-up that's made for movies.
3DM can't even break just cause. How are they going to get into an iPhone?
Details.
While the encryption backdoor is so far isolated to this case, this is actually the culmination of months of discussion by lawmakers. Since the Paris attacks in November, government officials have been broaching the subject of whether or not U.S. tech companies need to provide special passcodes to law enforcement that would let them hop around encryption.
Why can't the FBI just do that themselves, you may be asking? I mean, while it is fun to be snarky about the competence of government agencies, the truth is that encryption is really super complicated. Who knew?
Well, the FBI does now.
Yes.
Since iOS 8, Apple stopped storing encryption keys for its devices. Apple basically did this because, surprise, people have been asking them for this kind of access for years. So it sort of purposefully tied its own hands on the matter.
One of the shooter's iPhones ran iOS 9, which also happens to be using the auto wipe feature, which erases all data after 10 failed password attempts. Wouldn't you know it? With iOS 9's default device encryption, when a user makes a new password, that phrase generates a key with the phone's unique hardware chip.
Seems easy enough, right? Just get around the auto erase function and then enter password combinations to your heart's content.
Not so fast, amateur cracker.
Darn it.
I know. Oh no. Per Apple software, trying combinations on the iPhone's hardware would take more than 5 years.
Now, you could speed all that up if you've got a supercomputer lying around. I'm sure the government's got a dozen of them. They have the budgets for that. Or not. But in order to run it on a different set of hardware, you need the phone's hardware key, which, again, Apple doesn't have. You could get that key by hitting the phone's chip with lasers and radio frequencies. Duh.
Of course you could. Once that's obtained, it would only take 22 hours to crack, according to cryptography experts, if the passkey is numeric. If it's using letters and numbers, it could take up to 10 years.
And we're all familiar with Apple's new password strategy of do whatever you want. There won't even be in America anymore by the time they get into it.
Of course.
Obviously, which is why the FBI wants Apple to create custom software that is basically iOS malware. And it's not even a given that Apple can accomplish that technologically.
But back to the case. Does the FBI have the legal grounds to do this? Well, it's complicated, but they're leaning on a law called the All Writs Act, which you may have guessed is a colonial law.
The FBI uses a lot of colonial laws.
Yeah. If it says writs in there, colonial times. Basically, it authorizes the federal government to issue orders that are not otherwise covered by an existing statute. I mean, they've used it before, notably in technology cases, and probably against the redcoats, because fuck them.
Stuff it in your blunderbuss. Many government officials, of course, are arguing that Apple complying with this order is in the public's best interest. There's a rather popular notion that if you can uncover whole networks of bad guys plotting to do harm to innocent people, why not do it just once?
just the tip of surveillance. You know how that game normally goes. It's actually kind of like the end of The Dark Knight when Bruce Wayne develops that sonar device to spy on everybody to catch the Joker, and then Lucius Fox is all like, what the fuck, Bruce?
Yeah, it's just like that. Even if Apple were to win an appeal, which is probably its next likely step, we know that this kind of backdoor would be brought up in another courtroom for another bad guy with a different tech company.
Absolutely. The whole phrase slippery slope gets thrown around a lot, unnecessarily, of course, but this actually might be an appropriate use. If law enforcement is constantly using backdoors to catch criminals, how long before they turn to the NSA's 52-card pickup approach of information collecting and start doing this for suspects? And then suspects. And then ordinary citizens.
While some might argue that maybe it's worth it to catch the really bad guys, remember that time the NSA admitted it hadn't foiled any terror plots by getting into all of our information? Because that actually happened.
That's true. There was also a recent study from Harvard demonstrating that national laws mandating encryption backdoors would be totally ineffective. The study concluded that criminals would have too many international options that wouldn't be subject to these kinds of backdoors that the FBI is asking Apple to make.
So if Apple products are vulnerable, terrorists just jump to another product and different software, and in the end, only law-abiding citizens are left with vulnerabilities that could be exploited by cybercriminals, which they absolutely would be.
Yes, regardless of what happens next, the only sure thing we know is that this debate is not ending anytime soon. This is basically the same song and dance that tech companies and the government have been doing for a long time.
Just in different forms.
Yes.
It's even a shittier dance than the Macarena. Thanks, Uncle Sam.
Yeah. As for next steps, we did consult a lawyer who told us a bunch of shit we truly did not understand, but basically the easy answer is that Apple will most likely appeal the court order. What happens after that is where it really gets complicated, which is saying something since we didn't understand the first part of it. In the end, we could basically see something like this elevated to the Supreme Court.
And given the recent death of Associate Justice Scalia, we all know that everything in that branch is completely hunky-dory right now, right?
Yeah.
Each of our privacy, cybersecurity,
It's doing great.
maybe not.
What do you guys think about Apple opposing the FBI? How far do you think this case will go? And do you think Apple should stick to their guns, or do you think it's worth it just this one time?
Can't get hooked if it's just once. Yes. To stay up to date on all of your encryption news and snap letters from tech companies, like this video and subscribe to the know. No, is it? It's do.
Right, and then
do.
Huh?